Hey, I'm gonna check this time because I promise you I hate to do things 2 or 3 times. And since this thing wanted to not have volume last time, and I don't know what's wrong because my other videos had volume, I'm gonna check this time and then we'll start. I tend to just jump right in because I don't like all the before chatter, but I also am not doing this again. So let's see. Because okay, it's working this time. All right. So let's jump in. So I'm in the middle of a content creation day, which is why I'm in here. And like I said, the other videos work, but apparently the last one didn't. But this I felt like should be a live topic because it's happening right now, real time. And so I wanted to hop on and share with you guys and talk to you guys. So hey guys, hey, Akil Thompkins-Robinson, for those who don't know, Girl Get Visible. I help you create content that gets found outside of here on social or YouTube because I'm streaming to both. But let's talk about the Biz-Ish that's going on. So for those who don't know and aren't following my YouTube, which you absolutely should, Biz-Ish is a little segment I do where I talk about some of the current events that's happening out here in the world that lead to business or about business and really just some Biz-Ish, right? And so today's Biz-Ish is about Beyonce, Rihanna, Usher. I think I forgot to mention him in the title, but it's about all of them, right? Because all of them are dropping products right now. All of them are doing what we would consider to be a launch in business right now. And not all of them are doing too great, right? So let's first talk about Beyonce because Beyonce's had a week, y'all, a week. I can't even believe it's just been a week because there have been so many things going on. But from the Grammys to the hair care to the dropping a new album and crashing the internet, breaking the internet, whatever you want to call it, but definitely party crashing the Super Bowl just a little bit, right? So, hey, Vincent, thank you for telling me before I was not on, like you couldn't hear me. So hopefully you can hear me this time. I did check just in case. So like I said, Beyonce's had a week, right? And what's so funny about this week that Beyonce had, which is going to lead to our full conversation about this, is that on last Sunday, like literally almost 7 days ago, last Sunday, people were cheering on Jay-Z for sticking up for her, and some people weren't necessarily cheering, blah, blah, blah. Midweek, she dropped some hair care, and we're all like, babe, we don't know about hair care. Because one thing we do know is that when it comes to products or anything outside of music, concert tours, she doesn't do too well. Right. And I saw some things saying, oh, well, she doesn't do well because she doesn't get online and talk to us, which is ironic because I barely get online and talk, right? Or she doesn't show us behind the scenes of her life or blah, 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 right? She's not personable enough as if we walk up to the street and know her, right? But I heard all these things about why people say that her products don't do well. I've got a whole other theory, which is why I wanted to hop on and talk about this in my little Biz-Ish segment for today. So then by Sunday, we all love her again, and we're willing to listen to country music because that's what she dropped. She dropped it, we'll listen, right? Back to what she normally does. So I get it, right? We want music from her, and she gave us music, so that's cool, right? But still, it just shows you how very fickle some of us can be. And then Usher. I was gonna say poor little Usher, but I'm not gonna say poor little Usher. But people are acting like poor little Usher. Oh, Beyonce stole Usher's moment. Blah blah blah. And then I got into some debates today about Usher's Usher album drop. Like, how many? Raise your hand if you knew that Usher had a new album out. Like, not it was coming. But did you know you could go with Apple Music right now? It actually came out on Friday. Okay, so I didn't know about this album, right? And I spend, as y'all know, a lot of time online. Somebody was always like today actually said, well, you must not spend enough time online. And I'm like, the problem is that I do. And I had no idea about this album. No idea. Like I knew he was doing the Super Bowl. I even read about him getting a marriage license yesterday, but I had absolutely no idea about, oh, and I knew about the tour. I knew about the tour, the tickets, all this stuff. But somehow that one little thing about an actual album missed it. Like missed every news feed that's been going on for like the whole weekend, right? Which is crazy. And since I did watch at least his concert at the Super Bowl and or enough of the Super Bowl afterwards, they never mentioned it. Like you would think See, I didn't even know until the halftime show, but you would think when Apple Music at the end, he would have contracted with them to say new music streaming on Apple Music. Like that would have been just smart. Like everybody's mad at Beyonce for her commercial, but technically she was smart. She said all these people that like Usher, because they got overlapping audiences, we know that, right? All the people that like Usher are going to be tuning in, and if they tune in for no other part of the Super Bowl, it will be for the halftime. So right after the halftime, we need to be that commercial. Verizon, because you have Verizon pay for it. Verizon, we need to be right there when my audience is already watching because I know my audience likes Usher. So she capitalized on the moment, but yet Usher, they didn't even, they put the little, brought to you by Apple Music, but they couldn't even say new Usher streaming. That'd have been smart for them too, which is just kind of crazy. But either way, and then Rihanna, who's sitting home minding her business, right? Minding her business, she gets all thrown into every conversation, especially when you talk about B and her products and stuff like that. Because Rihanna, also smart marketing, did the other really smart thing when she launched Fenty. And so since now Beyonce's coming out with hair care, everybody's comparing Rihanna, Fenty, and I'm just gonna say Fenty. I know I keep saying Rihanna, but like really Fenty because it's got a life of its own, right? Which is a little bit about where we're going, but it's got a life of her own that we all know, and many of us love Fenty products. I even saw somebody had Fenty on like their top things that they buy from celebrities list today when I was looking, like, but because Fenty, we know Fenty, right? We love Fenty. We've used Fenty, right? Here's the difference and the lessons we can learn. I know there's gonna be a lot of think pieces. That's why I'm doing this as a video because I'm gonna think all in one time, right? This my piece, right? That I'm streaming everywhere and putting everywhere. So lesson learned there, right? But this my piece is that the difference in Fenty and Beyonce and even Usher a little bit, although he doesn't have a product yet, right? Is the audience, right? Every time Beyonce launches, her selling proposition for when she launches is it's Beyonce, right? When she had the House of Darion, you were supposed to wear House of Darion because it's Beyonce. When she had the Ivy Park, you were supposed to wear Ivy Park because it's Beyonce and a bunch of other famous people, but it's famous people, right? When now with this hair care products or whatever, you're supposed to buy it because it's Beyonce. Same audience, same thing. She thinks because, and I love her marketing for music, but she thinks that because it's her music, we just gonna buy everything she drops. And we prove her wrong every single time. Now, I'm not gonna say it's a flop, but it doesn't do as well as it's expected. And I'm not going to say it's a flop, but it does not have longevity, which the key to business is being here a long time, right? Having one good launch, having somebody buy your product one time, especially when it's something that people should be buying over and over and over again, like a consumable product, having us buy it one time is not that is not a good launch. That is not a good product. That's not even a good business, right? Here's the big difference though. When Fenty dropped, and I'm a so Rihanna fan. Like I like her music. I actually like Beyonce's music more. But when Fenty dropped, I didn't buy Fenty because it's Rihanna. I didn't care personally. I brought Fenty, which is how Fenty became its own name. Like it's not just Rihanna's brand. I brought Fenty because of their selling proposition. They gave me something more than Rihanna got makeup. They gave me something more than Rihanna has lingerie. Like they gave me something more than Rihanna. And I think this is the important part about any launch, any business, any lesson is that you have to go beyond your core audience. You can't just sell. Successful business doesn't just sell to their audience. They sell to their audience and then their audience's audience and then beyond their audience. And the way to do that, especially when you're doing something outside of your normal niche, is to have its own unique selling proposition. So, y'all know I got software, right? You also know I know SEO. I'm known for SEO. I was not known for software, although most people, if you knew my background, you know I worked in IT. I need my software to have its own unique selling proposition. The problem with Beyonce's hair care, at least up until now, I'm hoping they get better. I'm rooting for them all, right? But the problem with Beyonce's hair care is the same problem with Ivy Park, is the same problem with House of Durian, is that we're supposed to buy it because it's Beyonce. She didn't say these were better fashions than anyone. She didn't say these are better hair products. We ain't seen her hair, and then we haven't seen the products on anyone else's hair, right? She just thinks because we like her music, we're gonna buy her stuff. And it might work. Like, I think it's actually going to launch well because people just want to be able to talk about it online. People want to say, oh, I brought it, I got it. But once they start trying it, that's where it's really going to be the problem. And because it's a consumable, they make money because we keep using it. So if she can't say this is for this unique type of hair, unless this is going to be wig hair products, because that's the one thing we know. Her wigs and her weaves is on point, right? So unless you're saying this is how I keep my hair underneath, right? Which ain't gonna help us who don't wear wigs. That's a whole nother story. But unless she's gonna say this is what you wear underneath, her unique selling proposition is null and void. Fenty worked because Fenty promised quality makeup to all types of skin tones. That was their selling proposition. If y'all remember when Fenty first came out, they first dropped with all those shades of foundation, right? And all those shades of foundation is what sold a lot of us into I'm going to try this. And even if you weren't sold at first, when you started seeing the results and seeing people wearing and seeing people using and seeing when you went into a Sephora and you saw all that was available, you were like, I got to try this. She even went beyond our audience to now women of other colors, other races who don't even care maybe about her music are going to try it because she went beyond her audience. She gave its own unique selling proposition. People wanted it because it was going to fit what they needed in terms of being different shades and being quality makeup, not because it was Rihanna. Same thing with the clothing part. Her whole selling proposition of her clothes and lingerie was that it was sexy for all shapes and sizes. That's a real nice, unique selling proposition because we needed that, right? While Victoria's Secrets was catering to one, she was going to cater to all, right? She was going to have models of different sizes and different shapes. And that's how her brand really went above and beyond, right? So, lesson learned there is that Beyonce, I think, flops over and over and over again because Beyonce thinks that her being, or not Beyonce herself, but her people think that her being her is enough. Now, if they would have showed us, a little bit of lead up to seeing her hair, we've actually seen this platinum blonde hair, which really we know ain't her hair. But like, if they had done a little lead up to seeing her hair, if they even would have done a little lead up to us seeing her do the girl's hair, and then was like, this is really good stuff for hair, and it's Beyonce, then that would have been much better to me in that drop. Same thing with the clothes. Like, yes, you see the celebrities wearing it, but it wasn't really that unique to begin with, right? It wasn't really that unique. And it wasn't like you could wear this here, you could wear this there. This is what people are wearing. She didn't show average girls in it. She didn't do any of that stuff that takes it beyond her audience. And so that's really what I wanted to talk about. Like, that's pretty much the Biz-Ish, is that you've got to build beyond your audience. Again, you guys know I do SEO. I still hang out here on social. Social is my audience. Social are my people. I know most of y'all. Hey guys, I know, right? Or I've conversed with you or something like that. But my SEO is for the other folks, the people who just need the information, the people who just want to learn about the topic, and they find me outside of my core audience, and that's how I bring them in. That's how you become my audience. You saw something, you encountered something, you read something. You may not even, you've seen me somewhere, and not because you came for me, like the reason why I talk at conferences. You come for the conference, you get me, right? It's amazing. And you follow me, right? You got to go beyond your audience, right? A lot of coaches talk about that launch runway, but people think that they can just drop, and because it's them, then that's what's going to propel them to success. And even worse, you might have success that first time, but then you don't have ongoing success. Even this whole, so back to Usher, because, we can't forget Usher. Other than the fact he did not capitalize on those moments. I saw you, Vince, you said you think there was something in the contract with Apple the way it was promoted between. Well, that's another good question, but I do think he should have made sure in his contract that they at least mentioned that he had a new album. Like, they don't get paid for the Super Bowl. Some of them even pay to make it a better show for the Super Bowl. It's crazy that he did not at least leverage a shout out or shout it out himself. Like at the end when we were screaming Atlanta, 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 why did he not scream his new album? Right? Because give me a mic. I'm gonna scream my new album, which by the way, while you're here, we do have a new workshop, right? I'm gonna scream out my new workshop, my BAM, which is build and monetize your website WordPress workshop. So I'll talk about that more in a minute, but at least you know the name and you know what it is. But he had all that time and never even said, hey, I got an album. New music just dropped on Friday. Like it would have been prime time. Or play like the last song, be that new music song. Like, hey, you want to hear this new thing? Go listen to it here on Apple Music, since that's who is promoting it. But to your other question, like, do I think it was in the contract about Usher and Beyonce? Absolutely. I don't know if it was like in the contract, but that was my other thing when people were like, Beyonce stole Usher's moment. Usher absolutely knew that commercial was going to play. NFL absolutely, like these Super Bowl commercials aren't thought of the month before the Super Bowl, right? The placement of the commercials are not thought of a week before. Like they're doing this stuff years in advance, right? So Verizon knew they were buying ads. They probably had already bought the ad space. They knew they were bringing in Beyonce because that's really the only way that they could prove they're better than T-Mobile at this point, right? They knew all of these things well in advance. So do I think that it was a surprise to Usher that Beyonce dropped the song? Not at all. It might even be why she did a song and not the whole album, because his album was streaming and hoping he might have shouted himself out. But I don't think at all, like, I think it's crazy for us to even think that all this was last minute and super surprise. It's a surprise to us because we're the audience. And that's what it's supposed to be, the element of surprise. But to the people who make the deals, pay the money, do the things, no surprise. There's absolutely no surprise there. So that that's my answer to that. There was no surprise there, but I do think he didn't capitalize on its audience. Now on the other side, because he's got the tour, because that's all I've heard about. I've only heard about the tour. Of course, we heard about the residency in Vegas, but now he's going on tour and the price of those tickets and the Super Bowl. Maybe the album's a downsell and he didn't really want to talk about it. But to me, it's just ridiculous that he did not. This was his opportunity to go beyond his audience, because a lot of people last night learned about new Usher or learned about Usher music, right? You may have even heard of him, but never really listened to his songs. And last night you got all of them, right? He gave so many hits. He had the longest Super Bowl concert, I'm going to say it's a concert, right? But the longest Super Bowl halftime show ever, right? So last night, a lot of new people learned who he was. And instead of going beyond his audience, he didn't even mention his album. And people are walking around talking about, woe is me. He had the stage all that time. He should have had the name of the album somewhere, something somewhere. And especially again, because they don't get paid for these things. They don't get paid for Super Bowl concerts. We knew that. We found that out last year or year before last, right? They don't get paid for these things. And so this would have been a prime time for him to leverage that next step. Apple Music, who were the people who contracted him, they could have at least said, because it's been prime time for both of them to say, oh, new music streaming now on Apple Music. Now, granted, it's everywhere, but they would have just shouted out their platform. Beyonce did. And you know what happened when Beyonce did? A whole bunch of us ran to go see. She didn't even say where it was. She just said, drop the new music. And we, mid-game, went to go find it. So we was meaning on Usher because he didn't do the right thing, but Beyonce, at least for music, did the right thing. Now Rihanna, and why she's a billionaire, and running $1 billion business or part of $1 billion business, because she doesn't fully own it herself. But why where she's in the billions is because she's even smarter, where she gears her entire product towards other people, right? I just did an episode of my podcast streaming on Girl Get Visible podcast everywhere, right? Got on all my commercials, right? But I just did an episode of my podcast. And in that episode on the podcast, I talked about going beyond yourself. And part of Beyonce's problem is she did not go beyond herself, or she does not go beyond herself. Part of Usher's problem is he's not thinking big enough. He's not going beyond at all. He just wanted to do concerts, right? Which I'm not mad at, but so much more he could do. So much more, right? So that was today's Biz-Ish. I'm not going to go on and on and on. If y'all like Biz-Ishes, head on over to my YouTube channel, Girl Get Visible. Everything's Girl Get Visible, like it says in the corner up here, right? So everything's Girl Get Visible. You can head on over, listen to all the things if you like these Biz-Ish. Our build and monetize website. So if you want to learn how in your business you can start going beyond your audience, get off of wherever you are right now, right? Trying to attract your audience. There is a whole worldwide of audience out there waiting for you. And that's what we do in BAM. We talk about building it. So we make sure you got a website that's got the content that's going to convert. We talked about attracting. We talk about making sure that your website has content that's going to drive traffic. That's not the people that you're posting to every single day. And then most importantly, we talk about the ways to monetize it, right? Because if we're a business, or we want to be a business, because you don't have to have one to start, right? If we want to be a business, you've got to learn how the different ways to create products with unique selling propositions that the audience is going to want, right? Not the things that you just want because you think because you know you're internet famous that people are going to come to you, right? Some people need more. Some people need different. If you want to be sustainable, you're going to need to build that audience, and you're definitely going to need to have products that appeal to those people. So head on over to girlgetvisible.com/classes and learn more. Everything's Girl Get Visible, right? And learn more about how you can join us in our next BAM session and get beyond your audience. All right. Bye, guys. Talk to you soon.